we're here because it's about time we started the hot part of the show. The Army has announced that Sergeant Bo Bergdahl, who was held captive by the Taliban for 5 years, he is going to be charged not only with desertion, but also for misbehavior before the enemy. He did not say his please and thank yous. Bergdahl was released from captivity through a prisoner swap for 5 Taliban militants previously held at Guantanamo Bay in Cuba. You want me on this wall. You need me on this wall. But they are no longer within those walls, are they? Let's discuss with a beautiful panel. We've got Kirsten Hagelin. She is an anchor at Stirk.com. She is also a former Miss America 2008 and a future Miss America 2016 because she's going to run for president at my urging. Michael Malice also joins us. He's the author of Dear Reader. He has ghostwritten several books. And he was creeped out by my ghost photo.
It's true.
I digress, and we will discuss Sergeant Bergdahl. I always smelled a turkey and a rat and a rancid bacon-wrapped hot dog with Bergdahl. What are your thoughts?
I think this is Obama's mission accomplished moment because we remember how he paraded Bergdahl. This is a big deal. George Bush sent our boys overseas to die. I'm the president who's going to bring them home safe and sound. And that's not exactly what happened. If you're going to bring our boys back, this isn't exactly the boy you want brought back. So there's going to be a lot of egg on their face of this administration. The whole premise of this administration is that it's
diplomacy
and the world will love us again, and it doesn't always work out that way.
No, especially when you're swapping dangerous, angry, radicalized Taliban prisoners back to the Taliban because, but I guess we're safe because they went to Qatar and they're totally trustworthy and they're still in custody or captivity.
Right, and everything's going to be just fine, right?
No.
No. It really, I think, is doing a lot of families of platoon members who served with Sergeant Bergdahl justice. They feel like justice is finally being done. Of course, we haven't heard his side of the story yet publicly. I think that's going to be really interesting to hear. But what's fascinating, desertion. Everyone thinks that's such a horrible, charge, deserting. That is maximum penalty 5 years. But the other charge, which is misbehavior, which is actually very similar in common parlance to like aiding and abetting the enemy.
Yeah.
So that's really big.
And that's the one where he could get a life in prison.
Absolutely.
Yeah. People died to save him, so this isn't just like he had a crisis of conscience and he left and then he changed his mind. It's like, there's blood on his hands to some extent, and that's awful.
And I understand his parents' desire to protect him. Sure. And I understand that they would be worried that he's in combat, that he's in, the scariest part of the world and something bad could happen to him. And I understand that his dad wants to say, obey your conscience, but you have to be ethical. You have to, you have made a vow to uphold the Constitution.
Right.
You can't just
and so many, and so many other men and women have as well. And at the core of our military is discipline. Yeah. And so I think the military really understands that. Now they're saying, I know a lot of people say he spent 5 years in captivity, don't be too harsh on him. But the fact is that look at how many other men and women have served, fought, and they've died for this country, and so discipline has to be served.
And no matter what company you work for, you don't put in writing, this company sucks, I hate it, everyone's a bully and a jerk. I mean, and this is the military, ostensibly is doing a job of keeping us all safe. So it's really bad form in every sense, what he's doing.
Yeah, and a lot of people on the left sort of badmouthed his fellow platoon members for coming out, but they silenced themselves for years. Yes. I mean, they spent 5 years on this story, making sure it didn't get out there. And then when the president said the exact opposite, they said, oh, no, we're going to set the record straight. Exactly. And they did so using Google technology. Google employees have reportedly visited the White House an average of once a week so far during the Obama administration, totaling 230 visits since the president's inauguration. All right, well, during the president's 2012 re-election campaign, Google employees were second only to Microsoft in terms of campaign donations, and a former Google vice president is now, big surprise, the United States chief technology officer. I know that Google and the White House hold hands. I know they're in cahoots. They braid each other's hair. Let's talk a little bit about corporate cronyism, because there's a misconception that it's only the Republican Party that's in bed with big business. Explain this.
Oh, I don't think that's a misconception at all. Everyone knows Hillary Clinton and Wall Street go hand in hand. I think the way the system's set up, you have no choice if you're a big corporation to be in bed with the Republicans and the Democrats. If Google just sat on their hands, they'd be hearing from Elizabeth Warren like there's only one search engine, they control the internet. And in fact, that's what they're having to deal deal with in Europe. So Google has no choice but to kind of, kowtow to Obama and try to have him to have their back when it comes to international affairs.
And it hasn't done a whole lot of good. I mean, it helped them in the antitrust suit. And, if you believe Ayn Rand, and I do here, antitrust suits are nonsense.
Yeah.
But, they were on the right side of the NSA story, Google. And as far as net neutrality, they wanted the restrictions to be far less severe. And they didn't win really in either of those cases, did they?
Right. The Wall Street Journal has said that even though they've spent all this money and they've spent so much time at the White House, kind of their record on how much policy they've gotten through that they really preferred is kind of, it's hit and miss. It's 50-50. So we don't really know. But you're so right that the history of government getting in bed and being really snuggly with big money and big interests, that's nothing new. But I think Americans need to know and they need to see, because I think what companies, especially tech companies, see is they're influenced by public opinion and by public pressure. And if people don't like it, they can stand up and they can say something. And Google's got, increasing competition from Yahoo, some other players on the scene. And if this continues to get out, I think you're going to see people kind of rise up against Google and be like, hey, you guys aren't the good guy. Do no evil is your slogan. You guys aren't the good guy maybe that everyone thinks you are.
Yeah, no kidding.
No one's rising up against Google. They have us under their thumb completely. Skynet is here. Let's just welcome our robot overlords.
As Google Skynet, because it's really funny that you bring that up, because Steve Wozniak just this week said we have to be really careful about artificial intelligence. Stephen Hawking said the same thing, that AI is going to take us over. Are they already here?
I hope so. I'd rather deal with the robot when I go to a fast food place than with that human cashier any day of the week. There won't be mistakes. There won't be attitude. There won't be service.
Oh my God.
Bring on the robots. $15 minimum wage.
And you know what? They will make delicious fries in In-N-Out, and they don't require health care. All right. More than 60% of all Americans are living paycheck to paycheck thanks to crony corporatism and capitalism, according to a new report from Bankrate. 24% of the country has more credit card debt than emergency savings, and the average American household is carrying around $200,000 of debt. And that's not just from Jacob the jeweler. That's, your home mortgage and, HELOCs and stuff like that. What can people do to get out of this from underneath the boulder?
It really is incredibly sad. And when you look at it, at least the last 10 to 15 years, this has really been the trend. It's been this way for a while now. And I think it has to do more with the culture. It is just instant gratification. I want what I want when I want it. And there's tons of credit card companies and, easy lending practices that'll just give you the money and, you can pay it back later. But of course, that balloons into this cycle of slavery. And student loans, actually.
But it also, I'm going to stop you right there, because people do have a choice what they sign and the loans and the deals that they make with credit card companies and lenders.
I agree that it's a cultural thing, but it's a cultural thing in the sense that there's many countries that are as wealthy or less wealthy than America, and the people don't have anywhere near as much debt. So we're not taught in school how to budget, how to fill out income tax. We're taught how to calculate the dew point. If people were taught, in public schools how to manage a budget and, interest rates.
We were at Lakewood High School thanks to Barbara Kehoe, who is my finance teacher. We had her sophomore and senior year, and she was amazing. I mean, that's why I learned how to write checks and balance a checkbook.
Exactly.
And we never had that ever again. Kirsten and Michael Malice, you guys, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
I loved every moment of it.